You and I were together a lot during that season in which this became such an extraordinary topic of conversation when Colin Kaepernick was peacefully protesting during the playing of the national anthem. And I recall we had many conversations about how this would be different, how the conversation might be different if it were a white quarterback who were joining in the protest, who were taking part in this. And so what would you say is the significance of someone like Jared Goff saying that?
Greeny is huge. The one thing that everyone talked about, even when the Colin Kaepernick situation, when he started protesting, peacefully protesting, was where are the white quarterbacks? Because it's one thing for other positions to protest, but if you can get the white quarterback to be an ally in this particular fight, it brings a whole new dimension to the fight. And now that we're seeing this perfect storm that's actually starting to reflect what the actual coalition of the protests in society are looking like, where you have white, you have blacks, you have browns, all coalescing together to create change. And to see a guy like Jared Goff inserting himself, Matt Ryan inserting himself, Aaron Rodgers inserting themselves in the conversation, it's only going to elevate this whole topic. So I think, listen, it's not an easy thing for those guys to do, but kudos to them again for lending their voice and their actions for the cause.
Desmond, what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what Damien said. It's a microcosm now to the big picture, what's happening in this country. Like when you look at the protests, normally Greeny, in this situation is just predominantly black people out there protesting. And now you see, as many whites as blacks and just everyone across the board, across the spectrum who are out there protesting. So now they're in a situation, these white quarterbacks, I believe that if they decide to sit this one out, I think that they will look very suspect. So it's great to see that more white quarterbacks are starting to have their voices heard. And, in that locker room, and Woody can tell you, in the locker room, we always try to present a family-type atmosphere. The most successful teams, they look at their teams as family members. Well, you have to understand, if you're going to be one of my family members, it can't just be on the field. It has to extend off the field, too. And we're starting to see that now with these white quarterbacks who are supporting the black players, the Black Lives Matter movement off the field. This is tremendous. But like Woody said, this is a microcosm to the macrocosm of what's happening in the world.
No question. And Des, I would add to that a guy like Patrick Mahomes is on his way to being, if he isn't already, the biggest star in the sport, and he is the best player in the sport. I think universally considered to be that, Desmond. So that feels very significant to me. His participation in this, the leadership role he's taking in this feels important to me as well.
Absolutely. He was a part of the video that the players released last week that ended up getting Roger Goodell to make the statement that he made in support of the players. And he's a very valuable asset to this movement. I mean, at the end of the day, he is a black man, too. He's probably had experiences that all of us have had, and he understands that we need to make the change. This generation, Greeny, they're doing a great job of trying to make this change and trying to push the envelope. Kudos to this generation.
Do you have a final thought here before we move on this morning to other things? And we'll have much more time for more of this. But what's a final thought for this moment?
No, listen, I think you guys just touched on it. The fact that when that video came out, that Patrick Mahomes was one of the guys in that video, that was huge. Because you're literally talking about the face of the NFL. And for him to take such a public stance on this really forced the NFL's hand. And like Desmond was talking about, this generation of young players coming up, they grew up in the social media era. These are guys that are not afraid to step out and speak their mind. So these are the people that they're going to really create change, not only in the NFL, but society in general.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.